Hello, I'm Mimi, and I thought it would be nice today to take you along for a productive week in my life running my small art business. I filmed this video over the last week of February, and because March will be the 1-year anniversary of me being on Patreon, I wanted to spend the week leading up to March 1st doing a big update to Patreon and making some new content for it. My week is usually a bit more of a mixed bag and certainly isn't always this productive, but since I had pretty much already finished all of the illustrations and content to be released for February, I could spend most of my week working on a project like this. It's also an interesting week at our house because the cows in the fields around us are having babies and the calves are so cute to watch. They're not our cows, but I like that I get to watch them run around. So my plan for the overhaul is to introduce a whole new section of my Patreon as an illustration club, and I also want to make the whole sign up process a bit clearer and more exciting. So I want to make a short video explaining what my Patreon is and what you can expect, and I also want people to receive a virtual goodie bag when they sign up with some info for how to navigate Patreon and some digital downloads. There's a lot to do, and I start on Tuesday with 1 week to go before March by writing the script for the explainer video that's going to go on my Patreon homepage. My partner Dan helps with a lot of my video content, so sometimes we sit at the kitchen table together while we work on video things. I'm very lucky to live in the countryside of Tasmania where it's nice and quiet, and the only distractions are the animals going about their day outside my window. We moved here from Brisbane City last year, and although there are some things about the city that I miss sometimes, I love how peaceful it is here, and it makes it so easy to work and be productive when I want to be. The script I'm writing is only a few minutes long, so it doesn't take me too long to write it, and with the script written, I then record the voiceover. It's taken me quite a long time to get used to hearing my voice in videos, and I'm much better at recording now than I used to be. Hello, I'm Mimi. I'm a digital illustrator. I found that this whole journey of content creating has been about improving one thing at a time, learning one new skill after another. It was quite daunting at the beginning, especially as someone who's quite private and introverted, to put myself out there on the internet and make videos that I'm in and that I talk in. But I knew I wanted to share my art journey and that I had to step out of my comfort zone to do that, so I just took it at my own pace and took each new skill one small step at a time. Dan is editing these videos for me this week, so I can just take him the recording and he edits it down to remove the gaps and any errors. It's really helpful to have another person involved in some of the content so that it doesn't all fall on me. Plus he's much faster at editing than I am, and it frees me up to do more of the fun things like drawing. From that audio that I recorded, we can assemble the graphics on top of it to match what I'm saying. And because it's explaining how Patreon works, we don't actually need to do any new filming for it. We can just use assets we already have and take some screen recordings when we need to. Often in the mornings, I spend some time doing little bits and pieces, even if I'm working on a larger project. So I often go on Instagram to post some stories or answer messages. I like to share on my stories a mix of personal things like walks I've gone on, and also progress of illustrations I'm creating. Now the main task for the morning is to prepare the first pieces of content for my new illustration club, which is a set of 3 activities based on a drawing prompt. So first we need to film me filling a sketchbook page with ideas related to the prompt of the month, which will be the first piece of content, which once we're set up with the camera is a super chill activity for me to do. Then while I'm here, I'll also sketch some thumbnail compositions for the second piece of content, which doesn't need to be filmed, but I will need photos of the activity soon. The third piece of content for the illustration club doesn't actually need to be finished right now, but since the 3 of them are all connected and we're already set up, we'll film me illustrating a digital illustration for the club. The battery for the external recorder dies after about 30 minutes though, and my laptop doesn't like running screen recording software along with Photoshop, so we'll just have to come back and finish this another day. It's a Wednesday, so I've got a YouTube video going out that we already made the week before. It's just a simple sketching video of some chatting about my plans for the year, but I hadn't yet done the thumbnail and scheduled the video to post, so I need to do both of those things in the afternoon. Then I spot a bunny in the garden and I hardly ever get to see them. They're quite shy, so they don't come out too often, and it's a real treat to see them having a nibble in the grass. The afternoons are often when all of the garden critters are doing their thing, and it's a welcome distraction to be able to look out of the window and watch them. With the YouTube thumbnail finished and the video scheduled to be released, it's now late in the afternoon, so I sit down to illustrate something just for fun that I can also post to Instagram. I've been really enjoying watching the little calves in the field, so of course I have to illustrate one. They look so peaceful and snug when they curl up for a snooze with the long grass around them, so I want my illustration to feel cozy and snug too. It's always nice after spending a couple of days making content with purpose to just sit down and draw something for the sake of creating something that I want to create. It's really important for me that as my business grows and I have more responsibilities outside of just illustrating, that I don't lose touch with what I love about drawing, which is why I try and make time 2 or 3 times a week to just sit and draw something because it's fun. I find that it's about the right amount of time for me at the moment to be able to enjoy illustrating without feeling pressured to do it every day. Sometimes I chill out on the couch to draw and watch some TV in the background. At the moment, I'm watching Love is Blind for a bit of easy entertainment. This illustration I'll post to Instagram this evening. I don't really stick to a solid Instagram schedule at the moment like I did last year. I mostly just post when I've drawn something. It's Thursday and it's a beautiful dewy morning and the cows are already eating their breakfast. We go for a little walk down at the beach to get some fresh air, which is always refreshing no matter the weather. I love living near the water because it's so stress relieving to walk on the sand next to the waves. And going for a walk outside always helps me clear my head and organize my thoughts from the muddle that they're usually in. It's actually really important for my routine to go for a quiet walk a few times a week because even though I have a lovely home office, I have to get out and take my brain outside sometimes to refresh and be inspired. I do have lots that I want to do at home though, and I'm excited to draw a little logo for my illustration club. I just want something simple that I can use with any content for the club, and I'll be putting it in the Patreon explainer video I scripted earlier in the week, so I need to make this logo before we can finish the video. We go out for some lunch because what started as a moody overcast morning has turned into a beautiful sunny day. Now I want to make some icons for the video as well that can help explain the different tier benefits, so I spend some time making those, and because they're an easy drawing task, I put on some Next in Fashion on Netflix on my iPad. It's nice working for myself because I can choose to watch TV while I work sometimes, and I might as well take advantage of it. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks or music, sometimes I watch TV shows or movies, and sometimes I work in silence. It all just depends on my mood, and sometimes if I'm finding it hard to focus, then it helps to put on a show or an audiobook to give half of my brain something to focus on while the other half can keep drawing. It's the end of the week now, and I have just a couple more business days to finish all of the Patreon updates before it's March. I find Patreon quite awkward to navigate, so I've been really wanting to make a document for new patrons explaining how Patreon works and how they can navigate the platform. I also want to make a document that explains the illustration club and how it works, so that when someone joins any tier of my Patreon, they get these two documents explaining how everything works. This is where having a background in graphic design comes in really handy, because it's a fairly simple process for me to make documents like this, and I have all of the software I need. For documents that are just a page or two, I'll usually create them in Photoshop or any drawing software, but once I have a lot of text and multiple pages, I bring them into Adobe InDesign. I could absolutely use Canva instead though if I didn't have InDesign. If you'd like to know how I make documents for things like this, then let me know in the comments and I can make a video tutorial about it. The thing I really like about my little art business is that there's loads of variety in the tasks that I do, and even when I'm working on a big update like this, there's lots of little bits and pieces that need to happen. I'm someone who struggles with regularly doing tedious and repetitive tasks, so being able to work on something a bit different every day is really nice. And since the month isn't quite over, I'm still posting things to Patreon for February, so I sprinkle those tasks in amongst the other things that I'm doing. Monday is the last day of February and I still have some things I need to finish for the Patreon update, so it's going to be a big day. Although I try to be organised, I always end up having lots to do at the last minute, and I'm not convinced I'll ever stop being like that. Nothing like a deadline looming to motivate things to get done though, and they're all quite fun tasks to do. First, I'm going to finish the welcome documents because I haven't done the one for Mimi's illustration club yet, and I think it's important that I explain how it works. I want it to be a fun and visual document, so I make quite a few assets in Photoshop and assemble them all together in InDesign with the text. Despite being excited about this project, I'm feeling a bit distracted and anxious about all of the bad news in the world this week, and so it's harder to get into the swing of things. It's okay to have highs and lows. Some days it'll be easy to be productive and get lots done, and sometimes it won't. If I'm finding it hard to focus on my tasks because I'm distracted by something else that I can't control, I'll either go for a walk or step outside for a minute and let myself process my thoughts. Sometimes I take the morning or the day off altogether, but sometimes taking a little break and relaxing my expectations of what I need to achieve today is enough to get me motivated to get back into things. I don't think that productivity is all about hustle and producing non-stop. It's also about being aware of the ebbs and flows in your motivation and working with them rather than forcing your way through them. Once I'm feeling ready to keep going with the update, I script and voice record for the first Illustration Club video that'll be released on Patreon on March 1st. Dan edits my voiceover together with the footage we filmed, and then the first video for the big update is finished. Since we needed to wait until all of the other elements were finished before we did the explainer video, we can now finish that as well, and everything all comes together nicely and quite quickly at the end. So I've now got everything I need to overhaul my Patreon and give it a big update. I've had quite a big week doing all of these upgrades, but it's so worth it to know that I can now share an illustration club with my wonderful patrons, and there are also lots of resources now to help explain Patreon and how to navigate it, so hopefully that helps people get the most out of the platform. If you'd like to know more about how I run my Patreon or how the new illustration club goes, then let me know and I can make another video about it, because I've certainly learnt a lot in the last year about running a Patreon, so I'd be more than happy to share. If you enjoyed this video, then leave me a comment, give it a like, and maybe consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!